So on June 26th, the Ventura City Council passed what they called the CARE policy. What is the CARE policy? It makes it a sanctuary city for transitioning children, full-term abortion, which was never under threat due to Proposition 1, and they are going to use taxpayer money to hold seminars for those that are here illegally. I think that's in violation of 8 U.S. Code 1324. I'm going to play their presentation for you, which was the most partisan, hateful thing I had ever listened to, and they knowingly lied to their constituents unless they're just completely ill-informed. So I need you to pay attention to this presentation, read the drop-downs of how I debunk their act while they are speaking.
So why are we presenting this now? Look, I don't really care where your politics are and who you voted for. What I care about is making sure that Venturans have homes that they can afford, jobs so we can feed ourselves and our family and have the means to provide the basic necessities. But in the last 6 months, this federal government has made dangerous changes that have shattered many of the ways that we can take care of ourselves and our families. In a matter of days, since they've taken office, people have lost their jobs due to inefficient new department led by an incompetent tech CEO. In a matter of weeks, our groceries and gas has not decreased as we were promised, but has in fact increased because of the ineffective tariffs.
President Trump then traveled to the Netherlands to attend the annual NATO summit, where he secured a historic agreement for its members to raise defense spending to 5% of GDP. The S&P and the NASDAQ both hit all-time record highs on Friday morning, and summer gas prices have reached their lowest points since 2021.
The reason gas prices are high in California is the failed supermajority of Democrats.
In a matter of months, both immigrant communities and U.S. citizens were being swept up from their homes and swept from the streets, resulting in families being separated from their kids, all without due process.
You sure as heck don't care about Rachel Moron. You don't care about 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungary that was raped and murdered by 2 Tren de Aragua members. You don't care about Laken Riley. You don't care about Kate Steinle.
We have a president that doesn't listen to the Supreme Court and does not abide by any laws because chaos is his weapon so he can stay relevant. We have a federal administration that doesn't understand how to lead as they have removed funding, support, and resources to national parks, research on autism, HIV prevention, research for women, preschools, school lunches, libraries, public school in general. They have removed funding, support, and resources to the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration, creating dangerous conditions for people traveling. They have removed funding, support, and resources to Social Security for all seniors and people with disabilities, Medicare, Medicaid, food stamps, and PBS. I mean, for God's sakes, what did Elmo and Big Bird do to hurt these people? And now, next slide, we're on the brink of an all-out war.
That's a lie.
President Trump started the week by completely and totally obliterating Iran's nuclear program and securing a peace deal between Israel and Iran.
Which is one thing that most of us can agree on that we do not want.
In stories, this press corps and the press corps miss historic moments. There's been a lot of discussion about what happened and what didn't happen. Step back for a second. Because of decisive military action, President Trump created the conditions to end the war, decimating, choose your word, obliterating, destroying Iran's nuclear capabilities.
So if you're seeing the chaos that this federal government has done in the last 6 months, then you're not paying attention. You're hoping that things will get better. You are praying that this president and his administration will actually help the working families in this country. And while you're praying for that to happen, this policy is what we'll do for the families living in Ventura. Next slide. To add to the previous question, why do we need this if the state has protections already? We are demonstrating moral leadership in a climate of fear, with rising anti-immigrant rhetoric and the threat of federal crackdowns. It is critical that Ventura publicly affirm our stance. What we're doing tonight tells our residents and the rest of the country that Ventura will not be complicit in unjust deportations and will stand on the right side of history. Let's be honest, many of you only discovered what SB 54 and the Truth Act recently because of this policy.
That's a lie. I know with SB 54, and I'm going to get into immigration a little bit, You're limited on what you can do in cooperation with ICE.
That's correct.
We have had 300,000 migrant children go missing from the Biden administration, and it's my understanding the 101 corridor is a big corridor to traffic kids and people. What are you doing as sheriff to look out for possible migrant children that could be hidden in our communities?
That's a great question. So because we can't have any involvement at all with immigration other than very narrow parameters that SB 54 allows, unless we get a call of truly like a human trafficking type of thing for us to investigate, we're not actively investigating anything as it relates to immigration. We have to rely on our federal partners to do that exclusively.
I thank you for inviting me to testify at this critical hearing on the crisis of trafficked, exploited, and the staggering 320,000 missing migrant children. Today, my goal is to spark action to rescue children, prosecute traffickers, and dismantle trafficking infrastructure. We must prevent children from being lost into slave labor, commercial sex, organ harvesting, and other unspeakable evils.
By establishing this policy, we are showcasing the already established protections by the state for the undocumented immigrants, LGBTQ plus community members, and individuals seeking reproductive health care. In that way, anyone can look at this local law available to you so you can see one document with the many laws that are afforded to you. And further, we're also going to do more by establishing in this policy that Ventura will provide resources for educational workshops and outreach to ensure that we educate as many people as possible in Ventura to know their rights.
So a lot of you might be saying, well, we can't do this because we're protecting felons and criminals. This is false. Many people being arrested in raids today are U.S. citizens, born here, who've lived here their whole lives, who work very hard to earn a living and contribute to our society. I would like to say unequivocally that saying we're doing something to protect felons and criminals is fully misinformation coming from probably the biggest felon in our country who currently is in Washington, D.C.
The lawfare railed against President Trump in the year leading up to the election was unprecedented. This case that he was convicted of would have been overturned in the Supreme Court. Listen to Mike Davis, former law clerk of Neil Gorsuch, explain why. Mike has been on top of the lawfare since day one, and I want him to connect some dots for us. A year ago, he was on the show telling us about Matthew Colangelo and Mark Pomerantz.
We are in week 3 of this unprecedented criminal trial of a former president who happens to be the leading presidential candidate. President Trump allegedly settling and booking a nuisance claim in his books back in 2017. And somehow this Manhattan DA, this Soros-funded Manhattan DA, Alvin Bragg, has brought 34 felony counts against President Trump based upon a convoluted legal theory that the booking of this payment in 2017 was somehow election interference in 2016. And the prior Manhattan DA, Cy Vance, a Democrat, the prior Manhattan U.S. Attorney, the Federal Election Commission, and Alvin Bragg himself declined to bring these bogus felony charges against President Trump. It wasn't until Matthew Colangelo got deployed from the Biden Justice Department. He was in the number 3 office, a senior political appointee to President Biden, and they resurrected this zombie case against President Trump. Like I said, we're in week 3, and this is a dog of a case. Their star witnesses are clowns. Michael Cohen is on Instagram trying to make money off of this criminal case. You have Michael Cohen out there as a witness trashing the defendants, yet the Democrat Judge Juan Merchan in Manhattan, who donated to Biden in 2020, who donated to another anti-Trump cause, whose adult daughter, Lauren Merchan, is a leading Democrat fundraiser for Biden, Harris, many others who's raised tens of millions of dollars off of this criminal prosecution, unprecedented criminal prosecution over which her father's presiding. He should have recused. Even a former federal Clinton judge went on Caitlin Collins' show on CNN on April 5th, 2024, and said that Judge Merchan has to recuse under New York statute, and he's refused to do it. Instead, he's retaliated against President Trump by putting an illegal, unconstitutional gag order on him. So Michael Cohen can go trash a defendant going through a trial, but the defendant can't respond. It's unconstitutional. It's illegal. This is part of the Democrats' illegal lawfare and election interference. It is a criminal conspiracy by Biden, his White House, his Justice Department, and these Democrat attorneys and operatives to violate the civil rights of Trump, his co-defendants, to interfere in the 2024 election. And there must be consequences, severe legal, political, and financial consequences starting on January 20th, 2025, when President Trump is back in office.
As we previously stated, this policy aligns with SB 54, a law that recognizes there will be times when communication and cooperation between our police and the Department of Homeland Security is appropriate and necessary to protect our community with investigations into serious violent crimes.
Other frequently asked questions is why are we allocating city funds and resources just on this issue for these communities when we have other city business to take care of? So let me answer this with an analogy. When the Thomas Fire was blazing in the hills, the fire department didn't go to the harbor to hose down the houses near the beach. They went where the fire was. So similarly, this council goes where the need is, and right now things are burning. We have immigrant families in our city that are being separated from each other. We have LGBTQ plus people in the city who are so scared that they are creating escape plans. We have individuals seeking reproductive health care that are so terrified that they are risking their own lives by not seeking life-saving health care. It is clearly a pressing issue to focus on at this time that is affecting thousands of people in this city. This policy may not benefit any of us directly in any way, but it does not mean that it isn't important to thousands of people in our city. I think one of the saddest things that this president and his administration has done was to manipulate this country in thinking that empathy is a bad thing. To just take a moment to understand where someone is coming from, to stop for 1 second to say, I don't know how it feels to be undocumented in a foreign country, but I would be heartbroken if my kids were taken away from me. The very idea that I would never see my children again would kill me. I don't know how it feels to be a pregnant person, but I think I would feel helpless if someone were to take away my right to choose what's best for my future, my family, and my life. I don't know what it feels like to be transgender, but I think I would live in constant fear when people threaten my life on a daily basis just for living my true self. Empathy is not the enemy, and I would question anyone who tells you differently. Empathy is the effort in understanding each other so we can be a stronger community, accepting that we all have differences, but finding a way to get to common ground. So what will happen to our federal funding allocation? 1, this president and the federal administration has you believing that they have the power to block funding if we pass this policy. They do not. This is Civics 101. There are 3 branches of government because we have seemed to have forgotten our high school education. Article 1 of the U.S. Constitution, the Appropriation Clause, gives Congress the power of the purse to decide how funds are spent. The executive branch role is to administer those funds as directed, even with these ridiculous executive orders. More and more legal determinations show that many of them are unconstitutional. On June 19th, U.S. District Court Judge John J. McConnell Jr. issued the preliminary injunction against the Trump administration effort, saying it is unconstitutional and or unlawful because it violates the Administrative Procedure Act. Remember, and please don't ever forget, we have the law on our side. The actions of this federal government in withholding funds till cities do what they want is nothing less than extortion. And the thing about extortion is when you agree to comply with an ultimatum, you often realize that the goalpost keeps moving.